Hello and welcome to TYA Talk. I am David Strickel, creator of the TYA Mindset Practice, and I have some exciting news to share. The TYA Practice book is finally live on Amazon. You can pre-order the Kindle version for $2.99 right now. It will go up on the day of publication, which is December 1st, 2023. But as of right now, you can go on pre-order and you'll receive the Kindle version of the book in your device, your Kindle app, however you read ebooks, on December 1st. And you'll be able to read the book, hopefully write a review, whatever your thoughts on it are, as quickly as you can get through the book. That would be appreciated because we need reviews on the book. And the hardcover is also available right now. We're learning some things. We've never published a hardcover book before. So we are learning about hardcover publishing, which is a whole different world than publishing just an on-demand paperback and a Kindle version, which is easy. The hardcover book is available now, and we were going to offer a special price of $12.99, but the cheapest Amazon will allow us to sell a hardcover is $19.99. So that's going to be the price for now. We are going to raise it to $29.99, which was the plan all along on the first. But for right now, you can order it at the $19.99 price, and you will receive it when it's available. Now, when it's available is up to the publisher. They're quoting 5 to 6 weeks right now, which is insane in Amazon time. But we'll see. We'll see if it comes in quicker than that. They are telling Katerina, my writing partner, who's actually handling the publishing of all of this, that it's probably going to ship sooner than that. But with the holidays, they have all these delays in publishing, and that's just what's going on right now. So we are the publishing brand. We are not a big publishing house, obviously, so this is a whole new world for us getting a hardcover out there. So if you want the hardcover, you can order it right now, and it will ship to you when it's available. But the price is $19.99. That's the lowest we can sell it at. And then the Kindle version right now is available at $2.99, which is a special price. And then you'll have that on December 1st to be able to read. So that's the update on the book. We are going to offer a paperback later, and we're going to offer Kindle, an audiobook version next year. I haven't even recorded that yet, so that's going to take some time. So that's what's going on with the book. I hope you all are as excited about the book as I am. I've spent years with Katerina writing this. We've put everything in it, all of our heart and soul, and everything there is about TYA is in the book. Those of you that have been through TYA boot camp, it'll be a fantastic continuation of your TYA work. There's absolutely some new things in there that you didn't learn in boot camp. And if you haven't done anything with TYA yet, then it's a great way to get to know the practice and to start using it. Again, we're not holding anything back. Everything is in the book. Hi, Lisa. Good to see you. And the first book is Lisa's saying that she's rereading the first book right now. I should probably go back and reread that. I haven't touched that book in a while. That was I'm never going to write another book like that. It's sort of a autobiography of how I met the stream and how the stream started flowing, and a lot of channeled material in there as well. So the first book is The Stream: Eternal Wisdom for a Better Life, and you can get that certainly in Kindle and paperback, available right now on Amazon. So the David, I see you're joining. I hope you heard what I said about the hardcover book. It's available to order now, but you can't get it for weeks because that's just the delays in Amazon's publishing arm right now. So Amazon is publishing the book for us. We've never published a hardcover before, and there's just a whole new world that we're learning. So this is all a learning journey for us. I am going to talk today, though, about empathy without judgment. And I think it's important, always to practice this. And it's a big part of TYA, and it's perhaps one of the most difficult aspects of TYA for people to wrap their minds around, if you will. And that is the concept of, okay, I can forgive my transgressors, and I can experience everything as I move through life as just an experience without judgment. That's really what TYA is all about. So we are not practicing TYA so that we have perfect lives that never have any challenges, because that's just not possible. We're not here for that. Yes, systematically raising your default vibration is going to deliver a better life, absolutely. more joy, more clarity, more abundance guaranteed from source when you're allowing more source and less ego. So detuning fear, detuning judgment, detuning the transgressors of your life, all of that stuff detunes your ego, which allows more source in naturally. So yes, your life is going to just get better and better and better and better the longer you practice and the deeper you go into your practice. However, it doesn't mean that you're not going to have challenges. And that's why I share all my challenges. That's why I share when the house burns down and when I'm having surgery and all of this stuff, because I want to share and demonstrate how the practice is serving me. I am the creator of the practice. I have been practicing it longer than anyone. So it's my duty, if you will, to share with all of you how I'm utilizing it and how it's showing up in my life. It makes a huge difference in your life when you can experience things that are absolute challenges without going into the whole fear, judgment, lower vibrational perspective of it. You start realizing that, wow, I don't have to suffer through life. I can meet these challenges almost in joy, if not full blown joy, knowing that I'm creating the challenge to give me a platform from which to expand my consciousness. And you expand consciousness in the having of physical experiences. Now I know what it's like, or I'm having to solve this in some way. And I'm having to create a solution to something. And in that creation of something new, I'm also expanding my consciousness. So in the practice, we work first to apply that to ourselves. But one of the tricky aspects of the matrix is we are taught in the matrix that we have to concern ourselves with other people, whether it's our friends and family, loved ones, or whether it's the people that we're witnessing on the news and social media and things like that. And certainly, our sphere of knowledge, if you will, has expanded significantly in the last 50 to 100 years because of television and radio and now the internet and social media. We're very much more aware of what's going on outside our little bubble of physical reality than we ever have been. And think about how much all of that knowledge of what's going on over there, out there in the world is impacting our vibration. Because we can start working to wrap our minds around, okay, all of the things that I'm creating in my life, I am creating for my expansion of consciousness. You've probably heard the term, it happened for me and not to me. So I'm no longer a victim. I am creating all of it. There's nothing wrong with any of my creation, even the things that went sideways or went south. That's okay. I created that, and it's just fine that I created that because that's why my soul chose to manifest in a physical reality. But then taking that mindset and applying it to the worst of the worst, which is what news media certainly tends to show us. Children are being harmed. How often are we hearing some version of that, whether it's trafficking or abuse or some idea of some systematic abuse of children by a political party? We know that that's out there, especially if you're down the rabbit hole of things like QAnon and stuff like that, or a war that's going on or a genocide that's going on. These things that absolutely we discern as not our preference, that could be judged as horrific. Absolutely, those can bring our vibration down very easily. So starting to work on that stuff, that is a challenge. Absolutely, when you're seeing someone that is being harmed unjustly, or seeing something that seems like a gross injustice, and there's plenty of injustice in the world. There's plenty of that, and there always will be because we're in this contrasting environment. We're in a polarizing environment, if you will, and the polarization of our environment guarantees that there's always going to be things that are our preference and things that are not our preference happening in physical. Always, no matter what. Yes, we want to move forward and we want to solve things. That's expansion of consciousness as well. And in the solving of things, we are expanding and we're evolving and we're becoming better versions of ourselves. But as soon as we solve something, what happens? Something else is going to come along, or the solving of the problem sometimes creates yet another problem. So that's just the nature of a physical environment. And if you really embrace that and understand that we're all here for expansion of consciousness, and from that eternal perspective of source, and this is a key function of the TYA belief system, is that we're all eternal strands of consciousness here having a temporary physical experience. It's a belief system. It's something that we are choosing to believe and apply in our lives. Is there scientific, concrete proof of that, I don't even care if there is or not. I doubt that there is. I don't think there is, not that I'm aware of. It doesn't matter to me because that is something that I have been receiving my entire life of what we now call the streams message. And I've taken that message and I've really applied it in my life. And I've noticed that when I've applied it in my life is a whole lot better. My perspective of the world is better. The things that I'm firsthand experiencing are better. I can find appreciation for the experience of others, even the experience of others that is not their preference and is not my preference, because I'm viewing them from a higher perspective. They are strands of eternal strands of consciousness here expressing in physical and something that is always going to be a temporary experience. We know that. We know that this is a temporary experience. We know that our physical journey and our physical vehicle as we know it is going to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. We also know that that is not the same for everyone, that some of these physical experiences are very short. Some never make it out of the womb, in fact. Some of these physical experiences are very long, 100 plus years in linear time. But if you think about that compared to the concept of eternity, the absence of linear time, then this physical experience that we have is just this little grain of sand in an ocean, if you will, that it's just an experience. And we have infinite experiences. And in these infinite experiences, we come and we expand our consciousness in the having of the physical journey, which is both things that we prefer and things that we do not, period. And if I'm truly believing that, I can then observe someone having an experience that is not their preference in the matrix, and maybe they're suffering in it. Maybe it's ending them. Maybe it's not ending them. Maybe there is ongoing suffering, and have appreciation for their experience. Appreciation does not mean celebration. I always want to remind everybody of that. I am not happy that a soldier fighting overseas steps on a mine and has their legs blown off and they spend the rest of their lives in a wheelchair. Of course, I'm not happy about that. That's not my preference. I don't want that for anybody. But I can view that an appreciation of their journey, that for whatever reason, this is what their soul came and manifested. It's not my place nor even my business to start picking that apart. Why would they do that? Why would they want to have a journey like that? They're not having the same type of journey that I am having. For whatever reason, they're not. And all I can do is understand it from a higher perspective, which is how I define appreciation. Appreciation is that deep understanding, so deep that you no longer judge it. That's appreciation. It's not celebration. It's not wishing that for anyone, but it's also not judging it as wrong, should not be, so terrible, so awful, oh, their life is ruined. Because we're well aware, because we have all of this information shown to us, that there are people that have that suffering journey that continue to suffer in it for the rest of their lives. This is wrong. This is bad. This shouldn't have happened to me. Why me? This is awful. I hate the government. I hate the military. I hate the whoever did this to me, and spend their life in that sort of bitterness that should not be energy, and they're going to have that type of experience. There are others, however, that go on and write books and become inspirational speakers, and this is what happened to me, and this is what I'm doing with it. And we love that stuff, right? We love the inspiring stuff. We love the moving through great challenges to a higher vibration of appreciation. When we witness that, we automatically just love hearing that. Do we love hearing it because it just eases our conscience a little bit that it's not happening to us? Maybe. But I think innately we love hearing that stuff because our soul, we understand on a soul level that that's what we're here for, to move through that experience and find higher ground regarding the experience, whatever it is. Whatever it is. And those of you that have been listening to me for a while know that I have worked with people in TYA boot camp that have experienced some of the most horrific things you can imagine. And they've moved through the experience. They now want to ease their suffering by no longer judging the experience. And in doing so, they are finding appreciation for it. And when they find appreciation for it, all of a sudden a whole new world opens up. And they realize that, wow, I don't have to continue to suffer in that. Even though I suffered in it for a while, it's okay. That was part of my journey. And now I'm moving to higher ground regarding this, whatever this topic is. and I'm having a whole different experience with it. And it's not what the matrix tells me it has to be. And it's surprising and freeing and glorious when you reach that space. So I want to say hello to Paul, who is joining us live for the first time. Welcome. And David is saying something that's been gradually occurring to me is that when I'm judging another, what's really happening is that I'm judging my own vibrational participation in their experience. Exactly. That's exactly what's happening. You are creating a vibration around your opinion of what you're observing that someone else is experiencing. And if your opinion is, though this shouldn't be, it's terrible, it's awful, well, there's a lot of people out there online. If you ever spend any time online, social media, and you start reading comments on social media, you know that there's lots and lots and lots of judgment on social media. Social media is just a product of the matrix. It's just showing us what the matrix is really all about. And we see a lot of fear and judgment woven into social media. In fact, we notice that the negative aspects tend to sell better and propel more people than the positive aspects do. But they're both out there, but the negative stuff seems to gain more traction. People feed on that a little bit more. It's sort of like that negative sharing of information is something that's more infectious, and people that are more in the matrix and the people that are seeking to get out of the matrix tend to shut all that stuff down. And the good news is that for me, I went through a whole period where yes, I really limited social media. I got off Facebook for a while. I've stopped watching the news a long, long time ago. But now I find that I've done all of this detuning work so that I can observe something that is a negative or a suffering experience for someone else and not have it lower my vibration. I told the story recently. My father passed away a few months ago, and we went back and we rented this beach house in Galveston where the funeral and the burial was. And we all stayed together, my immediate family, in this house. And my stepmother is, in her 80s, and we were all hanging out, cocktail hour, as wasps do. And she wanted to turn on the evening news. They say, I've got to find local news. I'm like, okay, let's find you some local news. And she didn't really know how to work the TV, so I was finding it for her. And she was just it's like she had to watch local news. So I turned on some local news for her. And it was just funny to sit there and watch, this negative thing happened and that negative thing happened and this thing is happening and this thing you better be scared of. And it's just constant. It's just this constant feed of that. But I could allow her to have her experience with it without judgment and say, oh, you should be watching this. And why do you watch this negative crap? How far out of the matrix are you, and how high is your vibration? How much of you need to judgment if you are trying to preach that stuff to other people that are not choosing the same experience? She's not a TYA practitioner, probably never will be. And it's not my business to judge how she's operating her life. So she's sitting there with her bourbon and watching the local evening news, and that's completely fine. And I can sit there with my bourbon and watch the local evening news and be just fine with the fact that it was almost entertaining to me how it's just one negative thing after the other, and not get into the okay, this shouldn't be happening, this is so wrong, or it's lowering my vibration, I have to run from it. I think that your practice is in good shape when you get to that place where you can authentically witness something like that and not have it take you down the spiral. But don't expect to get there overnight. I've done lots and lots of work in my practice to get to where I can do that. And I'm not choosing to sit and turn on the evening news still because I just don't care to sit and watch that stuff. But when I am exposed to it, and inevitably in our world, you are going to be exposed to things like that, it doesn't necessarily take my vibration down. I can witness it now and observe it in appreciation of this is the matrix. This is what it's all about. The matrix got us to this glorious place of understanding where we're really figuring it out now, and we don't have to operate in it. We know when we're in it, we know when we're not, and how wonderful it is to just appreciate the matrix for what it's done for humanity, because it has done a lot for humanity, and understand that we don't have to be a victim of it, and we don't have to be chained to that. So David is asking if I could talk about the stopgap and how I use them. So a stopgap is simply something that you create for yourself, because we have these reactions to things that we've programmed ourselves to have. So we have our own program reaction. A lot of times the reaction to something is something that we've picked up in the Matrix, that we're immediately supposed to go down our spiral when we hear about someone suffering or injustice, or if someone's taking advantage of us, supposedly, or if something bad is happening, that we have that trigger reaction that we're really taught to have in the Matrix, that we're supposed to just go down our spiral. I watch some TV now more than I used to with this recovery I've got going on. I'm a little more homebound than I used to be for my surgery, and I'm noticing on these TV shows, how these people that are supposed to be kind of the hero or the protagonist, how they still are triggered by the antagonist of the story. I guess you wouldn't have much of a story if they weren't really triggered. If somebody's protagonist, you care about them, and they're just not triggered by anything, you don't have much drama to witness. So there's probably not a whole lot drawing you into this TV show. But I notice how much of that is woven into fiction, and a stopgap is, and so you're learning this behavior that, when someone is treats you wrong, or if somebody says something to you in a bar. You see these scenes on television a lot. You're supposed to mop the floor with them, basically, or whatever, depending on what you're watching. We're taught to have these instant plummet and vibration reaction to I've got to have the most negative reaction, and then whoever wins the argument wins and gets the ego boost of winning. So a stopgap is teaching yourself not to have those reactions, creating something that pops up in a moment that stops that old habit of being triggered down your spiral. For me, my favorite stopgap, the easiest blanket stopgap, when I feel myself being triggered by something, whether it's when I'm driving or when I'm watching TV or when I'm on social media or when I'm interacting with a neighbor or whatever, if I feel myself being triggered, I've created a stopgap for myself where the first reaction is not plummeting down my spiral. My initial reaction is this worth going down my spiral over? And I always answer no. I have yet to say, yes, I'm going to choose to go down my spiral over this. That doesn't mean that I can't still be triggered. If I'm already in low vibration, it can still happen. I'm not pretending like I never get triggered by anything ever. It's few and far between. It becomes more and more rare as you get deeper into your practice, because you start applying that stopgap and you start living a mindset that whatever I'm experiencing right now is a temporary experience that I've created, that I'm going to expand my consciousness in the having of the experience, so I don't have to get triggered by it. There's nothing that has to really trigger me. And I'm having all of these scenarios pop up that would normally be triggering for most people, that I'm finding aren't triggering me. That's why I like to share them with all of you, because that stopgap just becomes an automatic reaction to anything that is lowering your vibration, especially if you're not terribly down your spiral. And if you're doing your practice, you're meditating, you're employing appreciation exercises, you're viewing things from a higher perspective on a regular basis, and soon that perspective becomes your perspective. You have to manufacture it in the beginning. You absolutely do, because you are changing your mindset. You're changing how your subconscious mind works and how you are, what's going on in the background back there. That's why we clean up transgressors, because all that transgressor stuff is always running in the background, just like all those apps on your phone that are always open and running, and you may not be aware of them, but they're there. And what are they doing? They're zapping the energy of your device. Well, all of this negative stuff running in your background is doing the same thing. It's creating your triggers. It's creating a lower default vibration. So when you work on cleaning this stuff up systematically, and then you create a stopgap so that when you aren't in the highest vibration, because if you're way up your spiral, you are not going to experience anything that's going to be triggering. You're just not. It's not going to cross your path. So understand that you're a bit down your spiral when you get triggered anyway. So now you're creating this stopgap so that when you are in a manageable vibration, and if you've done the numeric training, you know that manageable is a -10 to a +10, that territory, not the very top, not the very bottom of your spiral, kind of in that midway. And we have a base of 0, and we have positive above that, and we have negative below, obviously. So if you're between -10 and +10, you're in a very manageable space up there. When you get above 10, you don't have to manage anything, because you're just so blissed out in source connection that there's nothing to worry about. When you get below 10, yeah, you're in negative territory, and your stopgap may not be as effective down there as it is at -10. But -10 is still pretty far down your spiral. Most of you are not operating in -10 regularly. Most of you are operating in -5, a little higher than that, or even maybe a little above 0 if you've been at this for a while. So understanding those values helps a lot. but that is this worth going down my spiral over? That's a great stopgap, a great stopgap, because it just, you catch yourself before you plummet, and then you start to reason. I have spent more time since my surgery just online because, again, I'm kind of chair bound a lot. I can't move a whole lot. I'm letting my back heal. I've got, weeks and weeks, if not months, of fusion for my spine going on. So I have to kind of stay put for a while. So I'm on my phone a lot more. So I'm on there, reading, comments on things that I find interesting, just interacting a little more than I normally would. And what I find is that I never really care to comment on anything. I don't want to be, the type of person that comments on stuff and starts, interacting on social media so much. I'm kind of into TYA, and outside of the world of TYA, it just isn't that interesting to me. But if I ever catch myself thinking that I want to comment, the stopgap that I've created is, where is my vibration right now that I'm even here doing this? Where is my vibration right now that I'm trying to like comment on something? It's not really where I want it to be. My preference is for my vibration to be +5, +10 most of the time. But if I'm up there, why am I here? Why am I doing this? Why am I partaking in this? I find more peace and I'm more blissed out when I put the phone down, close my eyes and breathe, and just allow that source to be realized within me, which we all have, and not so much in my ego. Because if I'm needing to put my 2 cents in, if I'm needing to be right or be heard, that's all my ego. And ego is not a bad thing. We're not eradicating our ego, but I choose and prefer to spend more time in source than in ego. So another stopgap is realizing, wow, if I'm here doing this, where am I vibrationally? Let me check in with myself. Another key component of the TYA practice is just knowing where you are vibrationally. And I catch myself in a space realizing that I'm not where I want to be vibrationally right now. My life will be better overall if I take this moment to put my phone down. Nobody needs to hear my opinion on anything. I don't need to be reading other people's opinion on anything, because I'm not in the above neutral space if I'm here doing this and needing to be heard and seen and to be right. So I choose to put the phone down. It's a great stopgap. I'm catching myself, well, wait a minute, why am I here? So those are two really good stopgaps that really apply in so many different scenarios. And yes, this is the week of Thanksgiving in the United States. You may be interacting with friends and family that are not in your mindset. If you were into practicing TYA, you are going to find yourself uh, not connecting maybe the way that you used to. And it's interesting that the the stereotype of cults, these people that get together and get into cults, is all about, separating yourself or separating the cult member from friends and family and things like that. I find that very amusing, because if you're really working on raising your vibration, you're not having to separate yourself from anything or anyone, because you are in higher and higher appreciation of them. So in your heightened appreciation of them, when you interact with them, they may not be a vibrational match to you, however. So you can be an appreciation of someone and still not necessarily wanting to talk to them or click with them or be around them. But here we are in a week in the United States where it's a holiday where you might be interacting with some people that you're not used to being around right now. And maybe they're not in the same vibration. They want to get together and they want to complain about politics. They're wanting you to confirm their beliefs and agree with them in a lot of cases, or maybe sometimes even they want you to be opposite. They want to spar with you. And in this practice, perhaps you're just not caring to do that anymore. And maybe they're accustomed to a version of you that they could trigger. And now you aren't as triggerable as you were, or apt to being triggered, I should say, as you were before. And so you're presenting a newer, higher vibrational version of you to them. Just understand that you can appreciate them and be around them. There's no reason to fear or judge anything in Taya, but understand that that doesn't mean that you can control their reaction to you. You may indeed be off putting to them because you're operating in this higher vibrational space. So there is absolutely a possibility that even though you're not judging them anymore, that they're judging you more, or they're wanting to draw you back into an old narrative that you're just not vibrationally aligned with anymore, and they don't know how to take you. And sometimes they react, in a real negative way toward this. So just be aware of all of that and return to source, return to appreciation. Make that your mantra, make that your stopgap, and you will be fine. You will absolutely be fine. But I do want to hear those of you that are having these types of experiences. I like to hear from you how these things are going, how you're managing them, what you're noticing. Because when you're starting to really, when you're appreciating someone else and you're not looking to fight and spar and complain and bitch and do all those things that maybe they're accustomed to you doing, and you stop and you clean up all of that stuff, and then suddenly, they don't even know who you are anymore. What's the matter with you? Oh, you're Pollyanna, you're pie in the sky, or you've got your head in the sand. What's wrong? You've got to be involved in this. They really want you to be where they are vibrationally, and you're just not willing to go back there anymore. Maybe you are, but you're probably not. And it's interesting to observe that, because all of that stuff, though, all of those things, that's signs of your ascension. And I mean ascension to a higher vibrational space. Your default vibration is higher now. You're a different being than you used to be. And some people who really care about you and appreciate you will love that. What are you doing? I love to see you so happy. What's going on with you? This looks great on you. Whatever it is they're saying, they're appreciating you. And you get really, really clear in this practice of how people really think about you. And I've had a lot of people that have gone through boot camp who have had friends and family sort of break up with them. Even marriages have broken up as a result of TYA boot camp, because that other person, as you raise their vibration, as you raise your vibration, that other being, they have a choice. They can appreciate you, or they can really be bothered by you as you separate from them vibrationally. And maybe they don't want to chase you up your spiral. They don't want to be where you are. They think what you're doing is ridiculous. Let them think that. Let them think that you're a kooky, spiritual, woo woo person and you're so silly. Or I had people in my family, really react negatively that I was doing something that was spiritual and not Christian, and therefore I was going to burn in hell. And they've separated from me, and I'm not even Facebook friends with them anymore. I haven't heard from them since that time, and I'm completely at peace with that. But that's their journey. That's how they're judging me. I would never go back to how I was to please them. Of course not. Of course not. This is really, when you get into Taya, you understand what independent strands of consciousness we really are. We're all of source, but being all of source doesn't mean that our human experience has to be aligned with someone else, that we have to have a twin flame or a soulmate or a BFF or a close relationship with family and friends and stuff like that. We just don't have to have that anymore. We're taught that. We're taught that it's the most wonderful thing in the world in the Matrix. But it doesn't always work out that way for us. And when we get into a practice where we're systematically raising our vibration, you might find that it's lonely, that high vibration feels lonely for a while until it doesn't anymore, because you learn to love your own company. You learn to really appreciate the people that are coming into your life that are your new higher vibrational match. Don't need them, don't look for them. Just understand that that stuff is going to come in time with practice. And if you're feeling lonely, it's only because you're going through a period of adjustment where you are learning to love yourself and your own company and your own journey, and you're not needing the things that the Matrix tells you you're supposed to have the way that you used to. And then there's a whole new world on the other side of all of that. I promise you there is. I've experienced it myself. So I think I've covered all of these. Let's see. Lisa had a question whether or not it's endangering her. I missed another part of that question, I guess, in the moment, or it's just my fear of what might happen later as a result if I personally don't want to deal with. There must be another part of that question that I missed in here somewhere, Lisa. So I'm not sure exactly. Hopefully, I've answered that in all this general stuff that I'm sharing here. I'm curious how older relationships seem to have a vibrational suction, as in they can easily suck us back into an older vibrational space. That's kind of what I was just talking about was probably why you typed that. You're right. There are older relationships that I find this as an adult, or I found this, I don't anymore. I'm 55 years old now, but certainly in my 20s and 30s and even maybe in my early 40s, when I would go back to see my family, you sort of slip back into that I'm the child, they're the parent dynamic, and some of those old dynamics start to resurface. But in time, that went away for me. And it's probably a combination of my age. And of course, as your parents get a lot older, they kind of quit being parental, and you start being the one that is looking out for them and making sure everything's okay with them. So all of that kind of changes. If you're talking about friends and more contemporaries, I could see how that could be. And that's a really good to tie back to your earlier question, David. That's a very good time to employ your stopgap. Going back and seeing your old best friend from your hometown or your siblings, is this worth going down my spiral over? Can I just appreciate them as they are? Maybe this friendship isn't going to work anymore. I've had to let go of a lot of friendships in my TYA journey. I absolutely have. But it's very clear to me that there was one that was a very long term, very close friendship. And when we got together in person, and it wasn't just texting, we really didn't click anymore. There were a lot of things that I was excited to kind of share and talk about that this other person just was not on board with. Oh my God, how could you think that way? And they were very much in the matrix, and I was very much out of it. And once you're out and you're interacting with someone who's really in it, even if they say they're not, and this person, dabbled in Taya but wasn't really all into practicing the way you are, David. Um, I had to let that friendship go. I just did. It wasn't working anymore. And I could appreciate what it was while it was, who they are and were for me. And if I never speak to them again, I'm completely at peace with that. I'm okay with it. But the matrix tells us we're not supposed to be. The matrix tells us that that's wrong. And oh, you're losing friends and it's terrible. You need to have friends. And what are you going to do when you're old without good friends and all this stuff? I have to tell you, I'm excited about whatever's next. And if I end up all alone in some nursing facility with a bunch of strangers, I'm going to have a good time with those strangers. That's my intention, or whatever it is, me and a dog or something alone in some shack somewhere. That's what I'm experiencing now. Whatever it is, I haven't experienced anything yet that I couldn't find appreciation for. So the same thing goes for these relationships. If they don't work, they don't work. You can choose whether you go down your spiral with that or not, though. If they're wanting to trigger you into some political conversation or something like that, what's the source perspective? Okay, source's appreciation of all things. So source's appreciation of the political party that is opposing to your old views, or maybe even some of your current views. It's okay. How do I find appreciation for that? How do I find appreciation? It really should detune anything that's transgressor energy in the moment, but it might lead to the dissolution of friendships and things like that moving forward. You may not, once you kind of agree with that person, it's just benign and you're not sparring anymore, but you're also not needing to feed their ego. And that's a fine line. I appreciate your perspective. That's great. Have fun with that. You can have that appreciation vibration and leave it there. But sometimes when they find out, okay, they appreciate my perspective, now I need them to support it. There's a difference. Appreciation and celebration are two different things. So we're not going to necessarily celebrate their position or pretend. We're not about being inauthentic in any way here. So we're not going to support, but we'll just respect and appreciate. And sometimes that's not enough. And that really can be even more infuriating than being opposite, because now there's nothing to argue about, but you're also not supporting. So you're not offering me what I want. Well, anybody that's behaving that way, and this is just an example, they are operating, -10, -15 on their spiral as a default, and they're very much giving power to external things, and they're very much in the matrix. And that's okay that they're in the matrix. There's nothing wrong with them being in the matrix. They're having their experience. Source appreciates it, so we appreciate it because we're beings of source. So David also commented that since getting into Taya, more comfortable in your own skin. Yeah, I find that I don't have to have something external going on all the time. Even in my recovery, I spend a lot of time in meditation, or I'll spend time reading something instead of consuming media or even music the way that I used to. There was a time when I was alone at home. I had to have a television on or music playing all the time because I needed to have that distraction because I didn't want to be in my own head. I didn't like my own company. And now I'm totally different. I really like silence. I enjoy the times that I'm alone. I don't always want to be alone necessarily. I certainly have a preference for my relationship and being with Michael and having the dogs around and all of that. But I have absolutely no problem being in my own company. And all of that detuning got me there for sure. So I want to take this opportunity to thank all of you that participate and watch live. And if you're watching in the future, continue the comments and continue the conversation. I will. We're going to be getting back to podcasts this week, and so I will pick this up on the next podcast as well. Matt and I are doing one that will probably be out in a week or so at the end of this week. So we will pick up this conversation with Matt as well. It's a big one to have because the more you get into your TYA practice, you start detuning your stuff, the more you start seeing how much the matrix is feeding you to draw you back into that narrative. Don't you worry about this. Isn't this something that you're concerned about? What's the matter with you that you don't care that this is happening to these people over there? That's woven into the matrix all the time. And the answer to that can simply be I'm an appreciation of the experience of all of humanity. And if they don't like that, that's their choice not to like it. It's okay. But if you're really in the matrix, and most of humanity is, they're not going to get it. And it's okay that they don't get it. We know what it's like to be outside the matrix. We know what it's like to have source perspective and authentically apply that in our lives. And I don't ever want to go back to the old way for me, but that's just me. Thank you all so much for watching.